Good afternoon, everybody. What's going on, everybody? Monday, February 9th, 2026. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you so much for tuning into Loud Majority Live. Well, Charlie did it again, everybody. Charlie did it again yesterday with the Turning Point USA halftime show. We're going to talk about it because I think it's an incredibly big deal. What Turning Point USA pulled off. Firstly, the very attempt of what they did was absolutely historic. The Bad Bunny thing was ridiculous. We're gonna go over exactly why. Look, if you like him, I don't really care. It's really not the point whether or not you're a fan of Bad Bunny or not. But it just shows one more bit of our cultural institutions that get knocked by the wayside. Turning Point USA turning out millions of live viewers for the All-American halftime show with Kid Rock, Lee Brice, Brantley Gilbert, and the girl who was there. I'm actually not too familiar with her, but I thought it was great. I thought it was absolutely great. We're going to break down why. We're going to talk about the numbers. We're going to talk about all of what exactly it means moving forward, because I do think it's a big deal. Now, idiots will try to explain. Will try to jump in here and say, "Oh, it's not a big deal." Look at the numbers; they're ridiculous. You know, it didn't compare, and you're right. You're absolutely right. But it is impressive. It is absolutely impressive that Turning Point USA was able to get tens of millions of people, 10 million people or so, to actively change the channel. That's wild. That's absolutely wild. So we're going to go over all that. Also, Ilhan Omar continues to be under federal investigation because apparently, and I don't know why nobody finds this odd, apparently her husband owns a winery that doesn't sell wine. He owns an investment firm that doesn't have any investments, and somehow her net worth jumped from almost nothing to nearly $30 million over the course of a very, very short time. Fox is looking into it. The federal government is looking into it. A whole bunch of good stuff couldn't happen. Couldn't happen to a nicer person. Sorry, guys. You know, day after the Super Bowl, dragging ass just a little bit. Before we get started, though, guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We are rocking. We are rolling here. Let's pop the live. We're going to be doing a lot of live chat today. You know, I remember I once told George Santos that he should put up a bill making the day after the Super Bowl a federal holiday. That way we could all just sit back and enjoy ourselves and nobody would have to work. Unfortunately, you know, that didn't get listened to. But hey, what are you going to do? What can you do? So shout out to everybody watching all over the place. Once again, guys, hit the thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. I'm putting a petition in the chats. If you guys wouldn't mind doing me a favor, clicking on that petition, it really does help me out. Helps keep the lights on over here. Let's put that in all the petitions. Here we go. It's there. Now we'll put it in the other chat. Giddy up. Let's go. Check out the article written by my friend Stefano Forte. Just click that link. It really does help me out. Kevin, greetings from North Carolina. Greetings from the frozen tundra that is New York right now. You know, I'm trying not to harp on it because everybody else is, but I'm really getting sick and tired of this weather. If Al Gore could come by and do something, maybe, you know, make things a little bit hotter, considering he's been bitching about global warming for like 25 years now. World's not getting any warmer. I could certainly do with some right about now. So shout out to everybody watching all over the place. So let's dive right on in. If we look in pure numbers, obviously the Turning Point USA event is going to pale in comparison to the viewership that the Super Bowl halftime show gets. The majority of the people who watched the Super Bowl last night didn't change the channel. But it is quite a feat. It is quite a feat on what they accomplished. Not only, I believe yesterday, and we got a video from Jack Posobiec on it, not only was the Turning Point USA show yesterday a massive success. Kid Rock did great. All the guys did great. But it was the second most streamed. I'm going to say it right. The second most streamed show on YouTube ever. Here's Jack Posobiec.
What's the tail of the tape, Jack? Like, what's the numbers gonna shake out to be? Is it gonna be 40 million viewers?
So this is what people need to know, is that the 25 million number that has come out already, that's just from the main YouTube and Rumble stream. So that's just crunching the numbers there. We've already got just YouTube alone, Turning Point's main stream, 6.17. And the 17 is significant because the previous number 2 YouTube live stream of all time was 6.15. So that's the number 2 live stream in all of YouTube history. Incredible. The number 1 in terms of entertainment, because the first one was actually the Indian lunar probe. So number 1 in terms of entertainment on all of YouTube in all of the platforms' history. I can't even, it boggles the mind to even think about those kind of numbers. And then we haven't even sat there. Andrew and I were chatting about this last night. You know, we might see 40, we might see 50. The sky is really the limit because we have so many partners. And then we haven't even got into X, and so many people were restreaming it and putting it out there. So we are going to see a staggering number of views on this. And it's something where, and I'm sure you heard as well, that the entertainment industry and the advertisers are very, very worried about this. And Cliff Maloney had a source inside NFL Networks who said they are freaking out over the size of this audience.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Because what it does is it ultimately shows that you've lost the culture war, that the NFL has decided to sabotage and betray their own fans, to do a program that is not in English, that has third world aesthetics, that's open borders messaging, LGBT messaging, woke propaganda. And I think the greatest sin of them all, you can't even listen to it. It's like mumble rap, but Spanish, and no songs that anybody knows. All the videos coming out from the stands, Jack, like shows people standing like statues. Nobody was into it. Nobody liked this.
And of course, nobody was into it and nobody liked it because even if, and look, all right, let's say Brantley Gilbert and Kid Rock aren't your cup of tea. That's fine. No big deal. At least you can understand the songs. You can understand the words that are being said. Now, I know for the leftists in Hollywood, it is very, very negative, very, very bad, no good, very, very bad to believe in American culture. You can support all the other cultures all over the world, like the people who have their countries run by cartels. But it's not a question of direct numbers because, yeah, probably, I don't know, 120 million people left on Bad Bunny. But for there to be 6.17 million people on YouTube, and I want to be clear about something. That is how many live streams there were. I've never really understood how ratings even work for the Super Bowl. Where I was watching it, there were 10 people watching the game. But it's one stream. I'm sure where you were watching, you weren't just like sitting in a corner somewhere watching it on your phone. I'm sure there were many people in the room. So we could be talking in the tens of millions of people. And that's with A, very short time frame to put it together. B, maybe not the most popular star. If you're going to do country music, you could obviously get Al Dean, and there are much bigger country stars. They were able to throw it together at the last minute. But this is just one more of the cultural institutions in America that Turning Point USA and this sort of new American right wing has shown that we don't need anymore. I mean, the Super Bowl halftime show used to be like a really big deal. I mean, if you guys remember Prince, when he did his, it was unbelievable. Unbelievable. Even when they did it in L.A. a couple of years ago, and it was like Dr. Dre and Snoop and Eminem, and I think 50 was there, I'm not really sure. Like, unbelievable. When Michael Jackson did it, unbelievable. But it's almost like the NFL is telling each one of us that they don't care about us anymore. They're going to attract the national audience. Now, look, I got to tell you, if Bad Bunny walked in front of this camera right now, I wouldn't know who he is. It's not my music. I don't know him. I'm sure he's incredibly popular around the world. Apparently, he's like the #1 stream on Spotify, which, okay, congratulations. A lot of that is because of the way things like Spotify and Apple Music set up their platform to just let songs roll into the next. Like, why if you just hit shuffle, do you hear some songs and you don't hear others? It's all bullshit from the music industry that's been going on for years. But I don't think people truly grasp how big of a deal it is to get 6 million streams. Think about this. And you could have just as easily left the game on, went up, got some chili or had some pizza, went outside for a smoke and had a beer, and just not done anything. Left the game on and walked out of the room. But for 6 million people to actively get up and change the channel is a shocking feat. Particularly in such a short time frame. They only really started promoting it like there were rumors about it for a while, but they only started promoting it maybe about a week ago, maybe 10 days ago. I'm actually floored at how big of a success it was. Second biggest show ever streamed on YouTube in real time. And what Jack was talking about with those advertisers, you don't think that those people who paid like $6 million for for 30-second commercial spots right after the halftime show are really, really pissed that a lot of people turned it off, weren't watching? And you don't think some advertisers are looking at, hey, man, maybe next year I'll advertise on the Turning Point halftime show because I know I'm going to get at least 6.5 million views. I really think that what they were able to achieve last night should be considered a cultural game changer. Here was Fox News. Here was Fox News talking about it.
In a House committee explaining to do. Speaking of millions, I want to talk about people, not money. Millions of Americans chose faith, family, and freedom during Super Bowl halftime. Turning Point USA hosted the first ever halftime show headlined by Kid Rock. It racked up 5 million views on YouTube alone, 26 million total views across several platforms. Now, the show also included this tribute to late Turning Point founder Charlie Kirk.
I want to honor God in all that I do. My wife and my kids, my relationship with God, top 3 things. And the more often that you choose the deep, the difficult, but the right path over the easy path is one that will reward you, your family, and this beautiful nation.
Turning Point USA spokesperson Andrew Clovet says this was just the beginning.
We're going to do another halftime show for the country next year at 20 million at very minimum. I think that number is going to go higher, 40, maybe even 50 in the next 24 hours. People are paying attention. And, if you give us a year to plan this thing, I'm really excited to see what we can pull off. But we got to do it for the country.
Kaylee, I thought about this last night. This isn't just a Republican or a conservative thing. There are people across the spectrum who have faith and love in their hearts. To get a number that big, perhaps some of them turned away from what was going on at the halftime show during the NFL and watched some of this.
Yeah, well, and it's also the family-friendly choice to tune into Turning Point's alternative. Much has been made about the fact that Bad Bunny sang solely in Spanish, but the fact is, Harris, he wouldn't have been able to sing his lyrics in English because they are so profane and vulgar that the FCC would have pulled the show entirely. So this, again, was the family-friendly option, and I think that a lot of people watched Bad Bunny's performance and they saw, okay, he celebrates his heritage, he celebrates his culture, but why is everyone else in the world allowed to do that except for us? This was a uniquely American event, and we aren't allowed to celebrate our own culture, our own heritage in the 250th anniversary of our country. I think that says a lot about the NFL.
Well, Charlie Puth sang beautifully our nation's anthem, and then that gorgeous military flyover. I mean, there were a lot of moments for people to take in that were pro-American. But then what you just described was going on, too. The Super Bowl highlighted a lot of faith on and off the field. Many players were outspoken about their faith leading up to the game. Some examples included Patriots quarterback Drake May saying, "I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. It's the biggest thing in my life." And Seattle's Kenneth Walker, who was MVP last night, by the way. Kenneth Walker III said, "I want to thank God for this blessing to be here." Seahawks coach Mike McDonald's credited his faith for the first Super Bowl win.
I mean, look, and I think they're absolutely right. If they were singing in English, I looked up some of the guy's songs. I just don't think it's good. And I like rap, and I like Spanish music. I do. But he's just not entertaining. Charlie Puth, I didn't know who he was. Charlie Puth? Pluth? Is that his name? The guy that sang the national anthem. He was very good. I was actually even more shocked that Green Day didn't come out and say something overtly political because, that's what Green Day does now. Apparently, it's in vogue to be 53 years old and sing songs about whacking off and antidepressants. Someone should tell Billy Joe Armstrong that if you've been on antidepressants since 1993 and you're still sad, maybe you're the problem. I don't know, but we got to make sure we take all of our cues from Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day. And there was a big hubbub about how much fun everyone was having. How much fun, Latino music, dance music, everybody partying, dancing around. I like it. You put on Nicky Jam, and I'll freak out. I like Nicky Jam. You put on Despacito. That song took over the world. Great song. But if you watch what happened at the show, it seems like nobody was really enjoying themselves. I mean, I don't know. 75,000 people and no one seems to be moving around or dancing. There's like 2 white ladies who are dancing around now, and nobody seems to be having much of a party here. Could it be because almost nobody there understands what the hell the man is saying? I don't know. So Roger Goodell, once again, swing and a miss. And that is where we have to be. We have to be there to fill those sorts of voids. Because if Turning Point USA hadn't put that show on yesterday, most people would have just left the damn thing on, not paid attention, went and got something to eat, and would have just racked up the ratings. I think next year's going to be even bigger. Unless Roger Goodell of the NFL decides that maybe it's okay. It's slightly okay to like your country. I don't know. That might be way too much for them. That might be too much for them to ask. That might be just way too much for them to handle. Although I will say the funniest part of this entire thing are the viral videos that have been coming out. First off, and I mean this, if you're one of the people who made a TikTok saying some version of people who want their own halftime show are the same people who would have wanted their own water fountains, just remember, you're the people who want a black national anthem. If I had to see that on TikTok one more time, my friggin' head was going to explode. What also made my head explode in a much happier way was seeing videos like this. Here is some very sad, definitely liberal white woman, probably an awful, I would assume, the affluent white female urban liberal, very upset because she went out to a bar and the bar that she doesn't own decided to play the halftime show that she didn't want to watch.
I'm so fucking pissed off right now. I came to this bar for the Super Bowl. I come to this bar actually pretty often. And we even reserved this shit like a week ago. I show up in here pretty much all day wearing my Bad Bunny shirt. Halftime show comes up and they put Turning Point USA. I'm like, okay, maybe they'll flip it over. Halftime show comes on and I ask the bartender, I'm like, so you guys aren't gonna put on the halftime show? And she's like, no. Why? And she was like, oh, because the owner doesn't want any issues and they don't want to play it. Like, are you fucking kidding me? You should have advertised that shit. I would have not come here if I would have known that. This world is so fucking divided. It's so divided and so fucked up. So I had to go and sit in my car and watch the halftime show. Mind you, I missed like the first 5 minutes on TikTok live of someone's TV recording it on this tiny little screen watching it because you refuse to play it. It's so fucked up. Like, I'm never coming here again. Like, I get it. People have their different point of views, and you can, and I'm not here to press judgment on, not judgment, but like, because I am judging, but I'm here to press my views on anyone else. But for you as a business owner to be that fucking racist is fucked up.
I could watch those videos all day long because, well, quite frankly, they're just really funny. They're just really funny. So I want to give a big congratulations to Bad Bunny for being the first person in the history of the Super Bowl to get nearly 10 million people to turn you off. That is a record that you will have forever. And I don't want to put too fine a point on it. I'm going to, but I don't want to put too, I don't want to be too on the nose about it. But I did sort of call this. I did sort of tell you all exactly what was going to happen. Yesterday morning, I tweeted this out. Let's can I get this up here? Yesterday morning, I tweeted this out. Here's what's going to happen at the halftime show today. Turning Point USA will drag away 5 million-ish viewers. Idiots will call this a loss, not understanding how hard it is to get a couple of million people to turn the channel almost instantly. So I that's exactly what happened. It's not easy to do. It's not easy, and it wasn't like you could just go from like Fox to CBS. Most boomers know. Let's see, somebody on Twitter. Let's have some fun here. Someone named Kai on Twitter. Are you really stupid? He had the biggest halftime viewership of all time. Yeah. Listen, sweetheart. Every halftime show has the most viewers of all time. It's not impressive. You could have put a parking cone out there and it would have gotten more viewers than last time because it goes up every single year. So that's really not impressive. But, idiots don't understand nuance or context or, It's actually quite funny. We're gonna get so many of those in the chat today, and I welcome each and every one of them. I really do. But I could watch those liberal women freaking out all day long. I'm sorry they didn't play your Mexican music that celebrates every single country in the world, but the United States, celebrating objectively crappy countries, because if there's one thing that liberals really dislike, it is when you actually enjoy the country in which you are from. So you have to compare America to utopia and not compare America to the third world shitholes that exist in the world. Some people may not like that I'm using that terminology. I don't care. It's very easy to talk about how amazing Haiti is. It's a little bit different when you're living in Port-au-Prince and you're dodging a warlord named Barbecue. All those liberal white ladies who are very upset about that would never live in any of those countries. As a matter of fact, here was Steven Crowder going over some of the cultural enrichment that we saw at the Super Bowl.
Wait a second. When you talk about Hispanic, South American, Latin American pride, do you realize that every place he just named is objectively awful? Let me go through it. Chile, 868 kidnappings in 2024. Argentina is probably the best amongst them. They reached an 8-year low as far as inflation in 2025 of 31%.
Jeez.
Uruguay, first Latin American country to legalize suicide. Paraguay actually is one that's actually, I'll let them be exempt. Conservative, uninterrupted conservative leadership for about 70 years. Bolivia, of course, are seeking to decriminalize cocaine. Peru, large swaths of the interior completely ungoverned. Or Ecuador, let's go through that. Murder rate 8 times that of the global average. Brazil, the current president jailed his political enemy and former President Bolsonaro, and they have a rogue Supreme Court. By the way, Rumble is banned in Brazil. Colombia, their most valuable export is cocaine. Venezuela, well, they had 345,000% on inflation, but it's managed to go down to 172. Panama, 2 times the homicide rate of the United States. Costa Rica just hit record high homicide rates due to drug trafficking. Nicaragua, war-torn under communist rule since 2007. The Sandinistas. El Salvador, home to MS-13. Guatemala, under a state of emergency for gang violence. Mexico, the cartel literally controls 1/3 of all Mexican territory. Do I need to do Cuba, communism, totalitarian dictatorship? They arrest people if they simply speak out against their government. Dominican Republic, at least it's not Haiti, so I guess we'll give them that one. And Canada, well, you know, Canada is a communist hellhole, and in 2024, 5% of their deaths were due to assisted suicide, because that's a big thing there. So when he goes through all those places, we're just like, yeah, isn't that great? We're rooting for anyone who's not America, because America is objectively better by pretty much any quantifiable metric you want to use.
Hats off to Steven Crowder for that one. Because there's nothing liberals hate more than when you say, you know, America might not be perfect, but it's literally better than everywhere else. Do you know how I know that, liberal white lady? Because you're still here. If America really was if there was so much cultural enrichment all over the world, then why aren't you living in a favela in Costa Rica? I don't know. Maybe it's just so. I've been to Costa Rica. I promise you. I watched people burn their garbage. Okay, that's like cue number one that you're not living in a great place. But you know, any opportunity to shit on America, and they will take it. Guys, do me a favor as we roll here, 3:30. Once again, do me a favor, guys. Just click the link in the very top. Check out an article written by my friend Stefano Forte about how Donald Trump is getting screwed over by Wall Street, baby, with the Patient Protection Act to try to save you from surprise hospital bills. Absolutely phenomenal article. Just click the article. It helps out the show. It helps out my friend, and you guys will learn a little bit more about about Trump's new patient protection policies that are all over the place. All over the place. Guys, we'll be back in 1 second. Before we do that, here's Jeremy.
Hey, everybody. If you're not familiar with, then let me introduce to you Armor Colostrum. Now, I didn't know what colostrum was up until a few years ago. I'd never even really heard of it. And then my wife turned me on to Armor Colostrum. And what colostrum does is it helps regrow your hair. Not going to lie, that's the reason that I started looking into it. But then I started noticing some other things that I could benefit from. I used to get acid reflux very badly. I used to bloat very badly. It felt like I was 10 or 15 pounds heavier than I was until I made Armor Colostrum a part of my everyday schedule. And now things have changed so very much. Let me introduce to you what Armor Colostrum actually does and what it looks like. In a study measuring immune cell response to toxin, Armor Colostrum performed 32% stronger and faster than other colostrum companies. 400 plus bionutrients activated in your life, in your body, to help regrow hair, strengthen your gut health, regrow your nails, toenails, and fingernails healthy, get rid of fungus, stop bloating, and more. And now you can get yours right now for up to $18 off each and every purchase at tryarmra.com. Promo code LFATV. Click the apply button once you've entered the code and watch your discount fall off. That is tryarmra.com/LFATV. Order now.
Guys, head on over to tryarmor.com/LFATV. That's tryarmor.com/LFATV. 2 more points on the Super Bowl real quick. First off, the game sucked, like, in and of itself. That's a shame. You hope that the Super Bowl's a much more competitive game than it was. The Seahawks absolutely dominated the Patriots. The score was a lot closer than the game actually was. Also, big shout out. I got to make sure I get this point out because this is very, very important. This is the most important takeaway from yesterday's Super Bowl game, from the halftime show, from any of it. A big shout out to the New York Jets, who once again have a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Unfortunately, like all the other ones, he's playing on a different team. So, shout out to the New York Jets. Way to win. But the more important part of the Super Bowl that I feel really, really needs to be discussed is that now that the Super Bowl is over, it is baseball season, baby. Let's go. Sure, I can't name a single player on the New York Mets because they traded away all of the good ones. And now they just have, these randos that they brought in from all over the country. But It's baseball season. Giddy up. Let's go. Giddy up. Let's go. Baseball season, baby. Can't wait. Can't wait. Can't wait to be let down by the Mets again this year. So, make sure we do the right thing. Do the right thing. Also, guys, do me a favor. Head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. That is the best way to support this show and everything we've got going on over here. Oh, yeah. All the good stuff. I got to tell you guys, that F around and find out hoodie is flying off the shelves in a very serious way. You guys are going to want to check that out today. Use promo code RUMBLE to get 20% off everything on the website. That's promo code RUMBLE to get 20% off everything on the website. Check out all the attractive AI people that are wearing my hoodie in this. You guys have been picking them up like crazy. Get yours today before they sell out. They're not going to be on there long. Go to loudmajorityusa.com. So let's talk about the SAVE Act, baby, because President Trump mentioned it in his NBC interview. It's been the talk of the town. Anna Paulina Luna is threatening to go full bore with this if the Senate does not bring it up. It is one of the only things in America that almost everybody agrees on, that we need voter ID in this country. We're not asking a lot here. Also, just in case anybody's curious about that viral TikTok trend of people saying if you need separate halftime shows, you probably needed separate water fountains. Yeah, well, guess what? The people who wanted vaccine passports are probably the people who are most against regular passports being used in order to secure our elections. Of course, because Democrats need the votes of illegal immigrants and people who should not be voting in order to keep power. Hakeem Jeffries, one of the least talented people in America, was questioned on this by Dana Bash on CNN about how most Democrats support this, and then he just rambled on about I don't know what.
For example, but requiring basic ID in order to vote is really popular. A Pew poll from a few months ago showed 83% of Americans, including 71% of your fellow Democrats, support requiring an ID to vote. Why are they wrong?
I haven't said that they're wrong. We know that states are the ones who are empowered to conduct elections, and every state should be allowed to decide the best way to proceed to ensure that there's a free and fair election. Here in New York, there are, in fact, voter identification requirements. The question...
No, there aren't. That is a flat-out lie. That is when you go to the polls in New York, you do not have to show ID in order to vote.
Is that what Republicans are trying to do is to engage in clear and blatant voter suppression. They know that if there's a free and fair election in November, they're going to lose. In fact, Republicans have been losing every single election since Donald Trump was sworn in January of last year, including most recently decisively in Texas, and of course, losing all across the country, up and down the ballot in the November off-year elections. In places like New Jersey or Virginia or New York.
Yeah, and they've been losing. I mean, Virginia is a good example. They have a requirement to show your ID, and Democrats won very, very handily across the way. So why not maybe even just take that off the table and say, okay, maybe not a passport or birth certificate, but show ID?
Well, first of all, every state is empowered to be able to make the decision on their own, and we completely and totally support that. What Donald Trump wants to do is try to nationalize the election. Translation, steal it, and we're not going to let it happen. We stopped them in terms of their gerrymandering efforts, where they were going to try to redraw congressional maps in red states throughout the nation, not expect Democrats to respond forcefully, and try to rig the midterms. They failed. We've stopped Donald Trump from being able to federalize.
I can't even listen to Timu Obama anymore. I can't even do it. I can't do it. First off, dipshit, and I mean that genuinely, like you just went on TV and lied like 3 or 4 times in a row. You do not need ID to vote in the state of New York. I know. I've been doing it my entire life. Also, Republicans attempt to gerrymander. Quite frankly, in the city that you reside in, they are trying to gerrymander Nicole Maliotakis' district out of Staten Island to pick up a Democratic seat. Also, Kathy Hochul attempted to gerrymander the district so bad that George Santos' seat back in 2022 would have went through 5 counties. 5 counties. You would have had to go over 2 bridges to get from one end of his district to the other. So save me your sanctimony about gerrymandering, not to mention California doing its damnedest to go out of its way to gerrymander those seats in California, removing any sort of Republican support. That's number one. Number 2, how about, you want to talk about gerrymandering? New England, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, the entire region of New England does not have a single Republican representative. So listen, Timu Obama, you're bad at this. Like, you're really bad at this. I'm shocked at how bad you are. Say what you will about Nancy Pelosi, but at least she was good at what she did. Hakeem Jeffries just sucks in a very serious way, and people are starting to notice that the SAVE Act is actually incredibly popular.
President Trump is drawing attention to his SAVE Act when asked about his plans to unify the country during his Super Bowl interview yesterday.
Well, we're working on the Save America Act, which is going to secure up a lot of things, but secure up our voting. I think people would like to do it, and I think Democrats would too. And you ask Democrats, it's polling at 82% with Democrats.
Meanwhile, Democrat Senator Adam Schiff is being confronted on this polling showing an overwhelming 83% of Americans supporting requiring a photo ID to vote.
71% of Democrats favor requiring photo ID. Is that something that you can support? And if not, why not?
It's still going to be something, Jonathan. It's still going to be something that disenfranchises people.
Well, no date has been set yet for a vote on the SAVE Act.
Oh, well, it's still going to disenfranchise. Sure. That is the dumbest possible argument. I love when white people, think that black people can't get IDs. Like everyone has one. Every single human being has a way to show who they are. You need it when you sign up for Little League. You need it when you sign up for your SNAP benefits. It's not really that challenging. Eric Schmidt from Missouri said pretty much the same thing.
Armed Services Committees, great to see you today. So you saw that 71%. I mean, Democrats are leaning in and saying, yeah, this is a good idea. Why don't lawmakers listen to the people who elected them?
Because the Democrats want to have people who are here illegally vote for them. That's the God's honest truth. And I think if 2024 represented anything, Harris, it was a return of common sense. There couldn't be more of a common sense proposal than saying you have to provide voter ID to vote, just like when you check into a hotel or you buy an airline ticket, just to prove who you are. But I think it's really interesting and telling that 2 issues are converging at the same time. This issue of illegal immigration and this issue of voter ID. The Democrats aren't really quiet about it anymore. They're sort of saying the quiet part out loud, which is they want to bring in 15 to 20 million people in here illegally, and they want them to vote for them because they know their ideas are terrible and they can't win elections otherwise. And so what Republicans are saying is, no, look, we want the return of common sense. We want to make sure people are who they say they are. We want to make sure our elections are secure and that people aren't disenfranchised, the people who actually are supposed to vote, by allowing people who aren't supposed to vote actually vote.
Well, another case of rules for thee and not for me, apparently for Dems. Critics are calling out.
And that's what it is. That's exactly all that it is. They don't have to follow the same rules as the rest of us. Leave it to example number 1. You should have gotten several examples of that in the first place, but leave it to a more pressing example of Ilhan Omar, who is now both under federal investigation by James Comer and facing investigation from multiple news outlets over the fact that she suddenly took a step back, tripped, fell into a kiddie pool full of money. And no one is asking any questions whatsoever. No, you can't look over there. You don't look at that. Don't look at that. Here with James Comer.
Chad, thank you. And focus now. Kaylee McGee White of Fox News.
Why are you targeting her when there is a problem? Ilhan Omar your committee investigation with Ilhan Omar, when there is a process in the House, if people have questions about their conduct, this would go through the Ethics Committee. Why is this under
and I've spoken, I'm glad you asked that question. I've spoken with the Ethics Committee. The Ethics Committee has jurisdiction over members of Congress. The two businesses in question are owned by Ms. Omar's husband. So the Ethics Committee does not have jurisdiction over a spouse, only a member. So that's why we just asked, we would have questions. I don't think anyone would.
It would pertain to her overall finances, because that is listed on her financial disclosure report, even though that's her spouse.
We've run this by the Ethics Committee, and we think this is the appropriate route.
Good. More of it. I want to know how it is Ilhan Omar, how her husband owns a winery that doesn't sell any wine and has an investment firm that doesn't have any investments.
Chad, thank you. And focus now. Kaylee McGee-White, a Fox News contributor. Look, there's a whole lot of money on Capitol Hill, both sides of the aisle. And you could say that you want to follow all the money trail. Look at the Shush Fund years ago, where women were being quieted for some of the discrimination that was going on in the Hill. So we get that. This is a very specific case. Why is that?
Yeah, I was doing a bit of research into Tim Manette, Ilhan Omar's husband's various businesses, and his investment firm. It has no known clients, no known investment deals. It doesn't even have an active SEC registration. And his winery, which is also purportedly making him millions of dollars per year, has no online presence. It has no marketable products available for purchase online. And get this, back in 2024, an investor into that winery actually sued Manette and his business partners, alleging that they had fraudulently misrepresented the winery as a legitimate business operation. So yeah, maybe there's a version of events here in which, of course, all of this is conveniently timed with his wife's election to Congress and her growing considerable influence in the Democratic Party. And maybe there is a version of events in which Ilhan Omar and her husband have just been extremely fortunate. But in that case, you would think that Ilhan Omar might be a bit more appreciative for this country and the ways in which it's aided her success. But I look at these events and I think they have cracked the Hunter Biden playbook. And I think that there are many other people in Washington, D.C. who watched the success of the influence peddling scheme that the Biden family ran. And more importantly, they saw that the Biden family faced zero consequences for that scheme. And they decided to try and replicate the results themselves. So I do hope that James Comer is successful at cracking what is actually going on here, because I think that she's probably not the only one in Washington with some considerable wealth to answer for.
Look, that's exactly where I started. There's a whole lot of money.
I mean, he owns a winery that doesn't sell wine and an investment firm that doesn't make investments. It's kind of like being on the board of an energy company when you don't speak the language. I don't know. Maybe I'm being silly. Or is that racist to ask questions? Here's the face of a guy that doesn't care. Here's the face of a guy who doesn't care. You want to see the face of another very strange person? We're going to check in on our friends in Minnesota. We haven't heard from them in a couple days. Want to make sure they're okay out there. One of the most insane videos I think I've ever seen in my life. We'll get to that in 1 second. Before we do that, Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed, because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com and use promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD, for up to 80% of everything on the website. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. So, look, guys, I know a thing or two about protesting. I've organized protests Richard knows. Richard knows. Well played, sir. I know a thing or two about protesting. I've organized a few in the past, actually successful ones. Not like the protesting against me that somehow get on the cover of Newsday even though 9 people show up. Like actually successful ones. And, you know, before you leave the house and you go to your protest, you make sure you have certain things with you. You make sure you got your keys because you got to get in the car, and your wallet in case you want to get something to eat. You got to have your phone. That way you can film it. But if you're protesting in Minnesota, before you leave the house, you've got to make sure, you know, all right, what do I got everything? I got everything. All right, I got keys, wallet, phone, maybe a snack, and dildos.
Get out of the roadway.
Oh, here comes the funniest part of the whole thing. After they suctioned their rubber penises onto this car, they found out that this guy is actually one of them.
Tell him we'll see him in court, right? They're going to arrest you. Everybody grab the dealers! Where's Johnson? Dude, don't risk it! Come on, so this guy is Jolly Green Ginger.
That's right. He's on their side, but these people are so dumb that they didn't know he was on their side, so they decided to fasten their rubber cocks right on to his dashboard. But I want to be clear, that wasn't the only one. You know, guys, I think we're being a little harsh on them. I really do. I feel like we should be listening to these people more. I feel like we should absolutely be giving them more power to decide policy in this country because they're doing such a great job. They're doing such a great job showing us that they are serious in their motivations, that they are intelligent in their design, that they really have the best interest of America at heart.
Bunch of assholes, they need to get fucked by dicks.
Fuck! Yeah, I can't believe we aren't letting this guy run the country.
Guys!
Fuck guys!
Yeah, I did. I mentioned spitting kitten. My dick keeps falling off my face.
Not supposed to be in the street, but we're completely taking the street because whose street?
Oh yeah, dude, we gotta go support Renee Good's family.
Right. That one has to stay there.
Yeah, okay. 1 to 3.
That one doesn't stick.
Yeah, see you down there.
You're to live a life of a.
That was you next to me.
Aha! Ow! Damn it!
Yeah, I can't believe we don't let that guy run the country. I can't believe we don't let the guy run the country who licked the base of a rubber penis so that he could stick it to his forehead run the country. Well, I mean, really, I think we're missing out, guys. Because sure, you can look to great philosophers of the past like John Locke, or you can look to that guy. I think we're missing out. And I think we should really give him his due. I really do. What a great American right there with his giant rubber penis flopping around all over the damn place. We got to make sure we check in on our friends in Minnesota. Why don't we take them seriously? I can't imagine why. Why don't we take them seriously? Oh, what the hell? These people are absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Whatever. Guys, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We got a couple more stories that I want to make sure we get to. If you haven't clicked the link in the pinned comment, I really would appreciate it. It certainly does help out this show. Check out the article written by my friend Stefano Forte about President Trump doing everything he can to secure health care in this country. Coleman K says, who is paying for all of those penises? I don't know. You know what? I'm going to put the live chat up here, and we're going to have ourselves some fun, guys. Let's see your favorite. Let's see who can come up with the best dildo-related comment. Let's see what you guys can come up with. I have no doubt that you guys will come through in spades. Before we keep going, guys, head on over to LFATV.us. That's LFATV.us. That's your home base, your mothership, your landing pad for all things LFATV related. Check out the LFATV store. And while you guys are there, consider becoming a monthly donor over at LFATV. That's how we keep the lights on over here. I want to thank everybody for all the support, always, for all the Rumble rants that you guys give. We literally can't keep the show going without your help. Your taxes, your welfare money. Sly says, literal dickheads. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. All right, let's see. What else can you guys come up with? It's their personals. I mean, that was a lot of them. There was like a lot of... Oh. KWA, don't do that to me. You're going to get me in trouble. Oh, but don't worry. We're going to talk about Don Lemon. We're going to talk about Don Lemon in a second, because I don't know if you guys know this or not, but like Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Don Lemon, all in the same category. All in the same category. That's right. Don Lemon, the perpetual victim that he is starting to compare himself to the civil rights leaders of the past. That's right, because Don Lemon was slightly inconvenienced for like an hour and a half after he committed a felony. Now he got to speak at the Human Rights Campaign, which doesn't actually do anything to support human rights. But so let's be clear. When Martin Luther King went to the jail in Birmingham and got the shit beaten out of him for standing up for what he believed in, Don Lemon believed that that's virtually the same thing as him spending like an hour in a police station and then getting a standing ovation from the Grammys.
Can you imagine the state having control of your freedom simply because they don't like that you are doing your job? So that was very frightening to me, but in my time when I was there, I thought about all the people who'd come before me. I thought about all of the people who fought for civil rights, who fought for gay rights, all of the people who were at Stonewall, Marsha P. Clark. I'm like, yes, those are the people, those are the real heroes. And so what's happening to me, I have, at least in this time that I'm living now, more agency, more resources, more rights, and I would hope, than the people who were fighting for our freedom and our civil rights.
Had to make sure he slipped a Stonewall thing in there. Too many jokes. Too many jokes. I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to be good. It's not helping. It's not helping. Guys, once again, do me a favor. Hit the thumbs up button, because we've got good news all over the place, guys. Markets continue to boom. That's right. On Friday, we ended the show off with the market closing over 50,000, the Dow Jones Industrial Average being over 50,000 for the first time in history, closing at 50 for the first time in history. And now markets continue to skyrocket with the NASDAQ index being, some would say, huge, up a point today. Very good stuff. Kevin Hassett continues to come out with more phenomenal financial forecasts.
Well, I think that there are two forces that are sort of pushing down and then one force that's pushing up. The force that's pushing up is that GDP growth is through the roof. Even with a revised down GDP now, we're looking at 4% growth into the end of the year, 3% for the year as a whole, despite the fact that we had a really negative first quarter with Joe Biden. And so that's the positive effect. The negative effects are when there's a productivity boom, then maybe you can make the same amount of stuff with fewer workers, and so that might reduce labor demand. And then the other thing is that there's a pretty big decline in the labor force because of illegals leaving the country. And so the break-even job number is quite a bit lower than it was under Joe Biden, when there were people basically coming across the border willy-nilly. And so I think that you should expect slightly smaller job numbers that are consistent with high GDP growth right now. And that one shouldn't panic if you see a sequence of numbers that are lower than you're used to, because, again, population growth is going down and productivity growth is skyrocketing. It's an unusual set of circumstances.
That's right. There are less open jobs out there right now, which gives you more flexibility in the market if you want to leave the job you're at and seek greener pastures. This is all good news. Markets are up, baby. Life is good. I'm very happy doing the happy dance. All good stuff. Guys, it's 4 p.m. I want to thank everybody so much for tuning in. I also want to give a quick thank you to let's see. A quick thank you to Carol Andrews, who picked up her F Around and Find Out shirt in the middle of the show. Giddy up. Let's go. You guys can get yours, loudmajorityusa.com. Loudmajorityusa.com. Hannah Faulkner coming up next right here on this network. Until tomorrow, everybody, stay loud.